Welcome to the Church Brand Guide podcast. My name is Michael Prasad. Today we are jumping into the topic of creating a culture of creativity within your church. So how do you develop that culture so that you've got just an environment where you're innovative and seeing really great results of people coming to your church because you've got this creative vibe about you. The great churches today are ones that are not just doing what's always been done, but they're really looking at what's happening around them and then creating an experience that people are eager to engage with because it's relevant. It relates to people. So our guest today is Nick Agimudie. He's actually with a creative agency. So it's kind of what they do all day, every day, working with churches specifically to create elements that are designed to get more people to come to those churches. And he's going to share with us some great concepts on creativity and what it takes to have that culture within your church. So maybe you're out there and you're a creative in the local church and you're trying to maybe get leadership to buy into more of innovative ways of communicating, of just doing things at the church. This episode is designed to help you out so that you can lead upward, if you will, to help take the church in a direction that is relevant, a direction that is able to relate to the people in your community. Culture is it's evolving, it's changing all the time, and sometimes churches just don't keep up with that. The churches that do are the churches that are able to see more people showing up. And really, that's what our purpose here at Church Brand Guide with this podcast. We want to serve you as just a communications director to kind of guide you, be one step ahead, and get you prepared for what's coming up, and give you tactics and techniques and different principles that are used in the branding world, where companies use these and other churches use these ideas to reach more people and to really make a bigger impact. So that's what the purpose of, we want to see you, the way I say it around here a lot, and you've probably heard it on this podcast many, many times before, but I want to help you see more people come to your church, more life change taking place as a result of that, and ultimately more people contributing to the vision that God has given you. Hey, I want to let you know about a great resource that I just developed. It's a Christmas package. This is something I'm trying that's fairly new, where instead of working one-on-one with a client, so I have an agency where I do work with churches one-on-one to develop their branding, also maybe create some packages around a major event for that church. So what I've done is I created a major package for Christmas. So at the time of this recording, it's early October, and I just want to get you ready for Christmas so that you can win as far as just having a great event, a great experience, and promoting it really well. So I guess win with promoting your Christmas. The idea is that Christmas is a great time of year to invite new people to come to your church that probably wouldn't come otherwise or any other time of year. So why don't we just make sure we take full advantage, promote it really well. So the package includes everything from screens and printed handouts, banners that are big and large and oversized, and posters. So it includes everything that you would need to promote your Christmas, including a schedule, basically a guide to let you know when to do things, when do you need to print things, when do you need to put things out in the lobby, those type of things. So it's really a guidebook to help you get Christmas right this year, and it's all done for you, and it's all done in Canva. So Canva is a great tool that many churches use. It's a graphic design tool that's online based. So I went and created everything in Canva to where you get the files and then you can make edits to it, change it to your time, your location, put your logo in there. But the design's already intact. The fonts are already chosen that just look good together. The placement of everything is already put together to where it just looks good, and it's going to be relatable. So all you have to do is then go in and change the information to your church's information. So instead of spending upwards of $500 or $1,000 trying to get a branded event package put together, you can get this package, and hopefully it's a blessing and it helps you if you're in that arena where you're just trying to play catch up, like most churches are. You're just trying to keep ahead by a week or two when it comes to like promoting and communicating what's happening at your church. So we're going to get into our topic with Nick Agimudie, and we're going to be talking today about developing that culture of creativity within your church. All right, hey everyone, welcome. Today we are on with Nick Agimudie, and we're going to be talking about creativity in the church. I'm super excited. Nick and I met at a conference. Nick, how's it going?
Man, it's going so good. It's fall. People are coming back to church, and we've been helping out a lot of churches recently with campaigns and launching, and so just been super busy, but I can't complain, man. It's a good season.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to the podcast. We hit it off really well just at this conference. And I was like, man, I'd love to have Nick on. So I really appreciate you being on with us and sharing some knowledge and helping our audience to understand about creativity, the church world. That's kind of our lane anyway. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? What's your background?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Trinidad. I know you're from Guyana,
Oh
so
yeah, that's right. The Caribbean vibe.
we got Caribbean vibes. You are chicken curry. I'm curry chicken. So we say it differently.
We'll get you straightened
But
out sometime.
yeah, we'll work on it. But man, I'm a local church guy. I actually started not even intending to be in ministry, but then ended up just falling in love with the local church. Served kind of in the worship team for a while. Became a worship pastor at a local church, and then eventually moved into kind of a creative director role for a season. And then about a year and a half ago, I joined Yellowbox. So Yellowbox Creative is an organization that basically exists to develop creativity in the local church. So we basically help fill in creative gaps for churches, starting from like visual identity, moving into websites, graphics, videography, things like that. So there's a lot that we can do, but really the core thing is helping churches to develop creativity in the local church. So if we're doing it right, what that means is we're actually working ourselves out of a job.
So you're a big creative guy. Like you said, you had a hand in a lot of different things. And even now, like it's everything from video to web development. But talk about creativity in the local church. Like, what's the status of that right now?
Yeah, honestly, it's been an interesting, 18 months, I think, for the church in general. For creatives, I think it's been tough. Everybody's had to pivot in some form or fashion. And I think just options have opened up for a lot of people in terms of just like what, the pause, the great Selah, if you will, of 2020, gave creatives an opportunity to stop and say, hey, what are we doing? How are we doing? Where am I at? And I'm really kind of take inventory. And then in the midst of all of that, the Zoom culture that we're in, and remote working culture, a lot of people just either through circumstances or through curiosity, doors have opened. So we've noticed 2021 has been a lot of turnover in churches and amongst creative teams. And really what I found, so I'm a worship pastor as well. I help lead worship for at a church, and I have over the years. And one thing I've noticed is what keeps people around is your culture. And so if your worship culture will keep people. I know I've had musicians sometimes leave because like they've had offers for money to go play at other places, which hurts, but it also makes me kind of ask myself, okay, I either get bitter or better because of that. So what is it that keeps people around, that keeps people in my culture? And this is why culture is so important in creativity, is you want to have a creative culture and in your church that is attractive to people no matter what, and really move beyond the transactional. Hey, I need you to do this and make this happen because Sunday keeps coming, and kind of move into a man. We are in this. We're in relationship, and really place value on the most important things in the weight that they need to be to help set your culture.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're right. COVID has really heightened things when it comes to creativity and just being creative as far as, how do we get the messaging out there in a way that's maybe different from before. As far as like the health of creativity in the local church, like what do you see just from your perspective? Like as a church, as the Big C church, like are we getting better at this?
I think we have to be getting better. I think like I said, there's been a tearing down, but I also feel like a lot of churches are looking at the health of their church, looking at the health of their team, looking at the health of their staff. I'm really big right now on on what I would call like a matchy life. So the experience, the culture that's felt on a Sunday morning, when people arrive at your church and experience your culture, is that the same vibe? Is that the same feeling that people on your staff, on your teams, as you're preparing for Sunday, are they feeling the same thing? Are they different? In other words, can we get our internal, externals to match, whether it be staff culture, whether it be our internal life? I think one of the big things to me to achieving health as a creative is understanding that, yes, we were created to create, we were made to create, but it's more, it's not in our doing that we get defined, it's in our being. So we go get our definition and our identity from being, and then we go and do. And sometimes we get so busy that the doing outweighs the being. And we need to preach this to creatives 24/7, because they do create so much and they're incredible as artists. But like making sure we go back to the well of finding our first love, and just getting filled up in identity, and detaching honestly from everything that we create. So it's really important that even before you even start a project, that people are just reminded of, man, I'm here because I'm inspired. I've been renamed. I'm a new creation in Christ, and now I'm inspired by the Holy Spirit and by the grace that was given to me to go create and tell the story of God on the earth.
So I'm curious, how do you do that? What does that look like for you? Like, as you try to stay creative and stay fresh, what does that look like?
Man, it honestly has a lot to do with finding, there's a discipline that I'm learning. I've not mastered it yet, but I'm trying to get there. Silence and solitude would be the first thing. Just turning everything off and just being still, knowing that he's God on a daily. So I started with just like 10 minutes where I literally put an alarm on my phone and sit still for 10 minutes and just rest and not think, and just allow and see what happens in that time as I begin to reflect. I'm not reading, I'm not consuming, I'm just literally a few minutes into that, I'll begin to understand what it is that's weighing me down, what my cares are, what my anxieties are, because they'll just start popping into my head. And it honestly becomes a time of prayer for me to help bring those things to the Lord. If we don't take time to do that, then what happens is it's those things are buzz around in the back of your head in the midst of all the things you need to create. And so honestly, for me, it's getting that silence and solitude in. It's practicing Sabbath and figuring out what does healthy Sabbath look like. Not just being restful or lazy, but being mindful that, man, the world can go on without me, even if it's just for 24 hours, in a full week. So things like that.
That's good. I think about, I was trying to think about some of the things I've done even recently, but yeah, taking some time away has been really good. I think on a daily basis, I try to have that quiet time in the mornings. My neighborhood's kind of a chilled, relaxed neighborhood, so even taking a walk sometimes helps me. Sometimes you kind of get going in the flow of a day, and there's just one thing after another, and you're trying to edit something or put together a design or something. But I think just taking a moment to go for a walk or something like that has helped me out personally to do something along those lines. But, and like you said too, like just getting around other creative things has helped me out quite a bit.
Yeah.
So from time to time, I'm new here in Florida, so I'm trying to enjoy what's here. So I actually enjoy going to like some of the theme parks and different things that are down here.
Yeah.
And then just from a creative standpoint, just being inspired, by some of what I see and walk into, and just being mindful of some of that, and then bringing that back with me.
So good. Yeah, I think it's okay to give yourself permission, not just to clear your mind and but also get out and get inspired and allow other things to inspire you. I think that's totally great and healthy. I will say too, though, like we make jokes about copying the creativity of the world and bringing that into the church, which maybe there's a time and a place for that. But really, like, we have a direct connection to the most creative force in the planet, which is creator God. He spoke the universe into existence by his creativity. And so the ultimate inspiration obviously is him. I'm Jesus juking you now, by the way. But my point is like both, it's a both and kind of thing, right? So it's okay to get out and get inspired by his creation and by other people's creation. But it's also great to just, man, Jesus, what do you have for us today? Asking those kind of questions honestly, and then creating space to just listen and respond and create out of that place.
So how do you lead creatives? I'm just curious, like from your perspective, like there's some pastors that listen to this podcast, and there's some other people that are communications directors, and they might have some volunteers that are under them that are also creative people. Do you have any thoughts or tips? I know you've been in this world for a little while, of how do you keep creatives, engaged, but also inspired?
What I have going for me is that I'm not great at design. I work at a creative agency, but I'm not great at design, videography, a lot of these technical things. So I can't even really speak their language a lot of times. And I view that as a strength, because what it allows me to do is connect with them on a personal level, relationally, and build trust. And so that's going to be the core. Like talking to somebody who creates about anything but what they're creating, and finding time to keep that balance of man, how's your soul? How's your heart? And not just staying up at that level, but like working on developing their character just as much as you want to develop their talent and heart and gifting. I think is going to be the most important thing. I think character right now is the thing that like most people need to catch up with their gifting and talents. Because we can get really good at stuff, but man, if you're on staff at a church, you want their character and their heart. Like I take heart over talent every day of the week. And like again, if I'm leading a worship team, I'll take the guy who messes up a couple times on a Sunday but has the best heart over the professional musician who I could pay to come in and play it. Just because in what we do, you have to do it with your heart. You have to do it with your heart in it, because that's just, I don't know any other way to do ministry other than with our heart in our sleeve, and I think that's you can't do creativity detached from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I found too that values, having some values that are defined, it helps with that. Yeah. So, heart is great. And I think sometimes we need to define that a little bit of like, hey, what is like, I don't know, grit, like, we do things that are difficult, but we figure out a way to get it done, or, whatever that looks like. But some having some values in place, it kind of helps everybody to unify around like, hey, this is the way we do things around here. And it gives a little bit of like a punch list to these are the things that, when we say creative, like this is what we hang our hat on.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I think, if there's one thing I would say that everybody, like if I were going to order maybe the weight, the value of how we talk about creativity and how to lead creatives, we put the highest value on people first, right? So I want my team to know how much I love them, how much I value, they're on team for a purpose, and all of those things. The next thing you want to do is to develop a process and put weight and value on your process. Then the third thing, once that creative process is established and everybody's agreed to it, both the people who are approving things and the people who are developing things, once that process is developed, then you're going to want to go into valuing actual production or projects, whatever those things are. And so if the project doesn't come out right, we may need to scrap that. It may be that something in the process is broken. But what my encouragement is, you don't want to throw away the process just because the project came out wrong. And you really don't want to throw away the people if your process is broken, right? So sometimes we'll jump over the thing that we value them and hit the things that we value the most, when really maybe there's something in your process that needs to be tweaked, or something in just how the project flow worked that needs to be revisited. But a lot of times we'll just skip the process and the projects and go straight to, we have a people issue right now. Which those happen. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that when it comes to dealing with creatives, we evaluate the projects and the process first. Then if there's a people issue, we get there.
Yeah, I love that. With creativity and creatives, people that actually design or do video or build websites or whatever, creatives, there's so much critique that comes into that. Like, I feel like you just have to value the person, like be very, very intentional. Like, hey, listen, let's separate the work from the person. Like, you're amazing. We love you, that type of thing. Because they're critique's part of the game, right?
Oh, 100%. Critique is part of the game, but also as relationship is part of the game too.
Yes.
Just as much. So, truth and love. And truth and love equals authority. So you can, but it's like a jalapeno. If I just give you a jalapeno and say, man, just eat this, it's not going to be good going in, probably, or coming out. But if I say, here's a jalapeno, we're going to put some cream cheese in it and wrap that thing in some love and some bacon, and then we're going to grill it, man, it's palatable. I can handle the truth because it was wrapped in love. It was wrapped in bacon. And so that's my jalapeno popper analogy. But that's what you want to do in anything, whether you're leading a creative team, whether you're leading a staff, is make sure that you're giving people truth. But then there's sometimes where if it's not wrapped in love, it can damage a relationship, and we just got to be aware. There has to be kind of that social awareness of what's going on, and it's not easy, and it's different for everybody. You have to understand personalities and connect with them, but it's a lot easier when you're proactive about connecting with people before, during, and after your process and your projects. So, man, develop it at the people level, then move into your process, and it makes your process and your production, what they produce, so much easier. That's a whole lot smoother when they know, man, we love you, we're in it together, and if this project doesn't work, you're not leaving.
Yeah, I love to get practical. Just a couple quick thoughts on the process piece of it. Like, have maybe a package of like, this is what we do for Christmas, and like this is our event promotion package. We do these things. We have a screen, we have a banner, we have these social media posts, we have a postcard mailer that we do internally. Like, just have maybe a stack of like, this is what we do, and then from that you can maybe add or take out something. But going into it, like, you just know, like, months ahead of time, this is what we're going to need. And then you can work in advance too. You can set up your Photoshop, document to have dimensions already ready to go, those type of things. Any other tips that you can think of that's very practical, of like, hey man, process, this is what this could look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think every church is different. So every church operates differently. But I think no matter what church you're in, there has to be a process. Like, show me the process, whatever it is. So like, if it's a series design, man, how many weeks? And this is something that both sides have to agree to. Like, the pastors requesting it, the youth pastors who are requesting it, and then the creative team who's developing it. But like, maybe it's 2 weeks. We need a 2-week lead in order to deliver this particular thing. Or, hey, Christmas is coming. What's our print? What things are we printing? What's our lead time that we need for that? When do the design files need to be done? As long as everybody's aware of the timelines, and then also just the iterative process of design, right? So I know sometimes, like with us, we'll do 2 concepts for, if we're to get into series, for example, we'll do 2 concepts for a series. And then based on that, we'll get feedback. There'll be a couple minor tweaks. And I think we say, like, I'm getting super practical, by the way, but like, we'll do 3 revisions to the direction that you pick of those 3. So we're going to pick one. Okay, great. So we've picked a direction. Now we're going to give you 3 revisions if there's that much that's needed. And so that's loosely a process, but at least it's defined, and at least both sides know what it is going in. And then it helps to manage expectations. The clearer you are about your process, the clearer you'll be able to manage expectations. And because unmet expectations lead to frustration. And I just know that there can be that on both sides. But if we know what the rules are, like, creativity is simply problem solving. That's all we do, is solve problems. And because if I gave you a blank canvas, I'm giving you another analogy. If I give you a blank canvas and I said, paint something, you'd be like, what do I paint? But if I gave you a blank canvas and I said, I want you to paint a picture of a park, of a guy playing frisbee with his dog, there's a tree on the side with birds in the sky and the sun and a couple clouds, all of a sudden I've given you some parameters with which to work. And you and I could draw the same thing, but it would look completely different, but we'd both be a lot closer because you gave me those parameters. That's what a creative process does. That's what a healthy creative process does, is it gives people that bullseye, that thing to aim at and hit. And within those parameters, creativity can flourish.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And for if you're listening and you're like a creative person that you're serving the pastor, I think a lot of times you can provide the process into the mix because they're thinking in a different way. So if you're thinking through, well, I need these things and I need this amount of time, I would encourage you just to think about how do you present that, from the bottom up to say, hey, let's start talking about Christmas. It's October. Like, can we start talking about New Year's and maybe Easter just a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, once you hit Christmas, it's like you don't stop until Easter. You're in season basically.
So any final thoughts that you have just to leave us with?
Man, listen, I just want to say we believe in the local church, and I still believe now that the best days of the church are ahead of us and not behind us. And I just think that everybody all around, whether you're a leader, whether you're a creative, we got to stay filled up and connected to the identity that Jesus has given us and continue to be deeply formed by him in the midst of divisiveness, in the midst of all the issues that are in the world. I still believe, man, our best days are in front of us. There's still more people that need to hear about the love of God, experience and encounter that. And I believe that God is going to continue to raise up people and generations that are going to see his goodness, speak of his goodness, tell of his goodness, and help tell that story visually through music, through art, through all the creative avenues that we have. And because that's what he does. He, upon this rock, he builds a church. And I'm passionate about it. I'm here for it. And I just want to encourage people just to keep going, no matter where they're at. Keep going. Don't quit. The calling of God on your life is never revoked. It just stays with you forever. Titles can come and go, but who he's called you to be from the very beginning, that never changes.
That's good. So good. Yeah. And I love that because I think this idea of creating a creative culture in the church starts with that mentality of, God is the creator and we are, he's using us to be creative in our communities through the church. So I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us and for hanging out. And by the way, just to make it, it's my show. So I just want to make sure that we're clear about this, that it is chicken curry. Before we close it out.
I want to eat some of that chicken curry. Let's make it happen.
We should, man. We need to hook up, do this thing right.
Let me come down to Florida.
Let's do it. You're in Dallas, is that right? Or
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Tulsa.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just wrap it up. How can people get hold of you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah. So, if you guys are interested in Yellowbox specifically, go to our website, yellowbox.co. You can send us an email. You can send me an email, nick@yellowbox.co, or even hello@yellowbox.co. And we'd love to chat. If, whether it's consulting strategy, any questions you may have about any of the content we talked about today. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Nick, thanks again for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Michael. Take care.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on the podcast. I hope this really helped you as you're looking to get that culture created where you're seeing innovations take place. It's doable. You can do it. You might have to keep at it for a while to take place. I remember working with a client where they were trying to shift the culture from what it was, which was kind of stale and had just been in decline for quite some time. And it probably took them a year to get some good traction with just creating an innovative and creative culture within the church. And now today, about 3 years later, they are one of the most innovative churches within their denomination that they're a part of. But it just took a little while. It actually started with putting a TV, taking down the bulletin board in the lobby and then putting up a TV, like a big, large TV, so they can have slides that flip through. So again, this church that I'm talking about was just at a point where they were doing things very, very old school, like bulletin board in the lobby, old school, and they wanted to innovate. And one TV is what it took to kind of kickstart that process where people started to buy in. You kind of at first balked at the idea of like, hey, where'd our bulletin board go? And then they accepted the TV of like, hey, this could work. So it was an older congregation. They wanted to get younger, but without kind of ruffling too many feathers within the congregation. So I know there's probably several of you out there that know exactly what I'm talking about, where you have an older congregation, you're trying to guide them towards being a little bit more innovative. And this is maybe just the episode to help you kickstart some of that within your church culture. It takes a while to change culture. It takes a persistence, and you just have to keep going at it. By the way, that church, they started with the TV. Eventually, they moved into the auditorium and took some plants off the stage. Used to be in church world, you'd have a lot of plants, the fake plants on the stage. And then they got to some bigger things where they just began to make changes. They eventually got rid of pews and went to chairs within the auditorium, and made other changes throughout the facility. And the service experience changed as well. The way that they produced the service began to change, where they had video announcements and did an online live stream. And when COVID hit, they were actually well prepared for it. They saw an increase in giving. Even throughout the pandemic where they were shut down. So they made the changes in the right amount of time where, during the pandemic, they actually did just fine. So anyway, just be persistent, create that culture of creativity. Hopefully this inspires you and gives you some ideas of how to do that today. Thanks for joining us. If you find this episode helpful, the podcast in general helpful, please subscribe. Leave a comment that helps it to rank higher. So I really appreciate that if you would take a moment to do that. And check out churchbrandguide.com for the Christmas resource we talked about earlier, if you're interested in that. Plus any other resources. We've got blog posts and podcast episodes on there posted as well. Hey, thanks for joining me again. My name is Michael with Church Brand Guide, and I'll see you next time.